Narrative Excerpt 5, Paragraph 1. At the close of the year 1834, Mr. Freeland again hired me of my master for the year 1835, but by this time I began to want to live upon free land as well as with Freeland, and I was no longer content, therefore, to live with him or any other slaveholder. I was fast approaching manhood, and after year had passed, and I was still a slave. These thoughts roused me. I must do something. I therefore resolved that 1835 should not pass without witnessing an attempt on my part to secure my liberty. But I was not willing to cherish this determination alone. My fellow slaves, many of whom he had taught in Sabbath school, were dear to me. I was anxious to have them participate with me in this, my life-giving determination. I therefore, though with great prudence, commenced early to ascertain their views and feeling in regard to their condition, and imbue their minds with thoughts of freedom. I went first to Henry, next to John, then to the others. I found in them all warm hearts and noble spirits. They were ready to hear and ready to act when a feasible plan should be proposed. This was what I wanted. We met often and consulted frequently, and told our hopes and fears, recounted the difficulties, real and imagined, which we should be called on to meet. At times we were almost disposed to give up, and to try to content ourselves with our wretched lot. At others we were firm and unbending in our determination to go. Whenever we suggested any plan, there was shrinking, the odds were fearful. Our path was beset with the greatest obstacles, and if we succeeded in gaining the end of it, our right to be free was yet questionable. We were yet liable to be returned to bondage. We could see no spot this side of the ocean where we could be free. We knew nothing about Canada. Our knowledge of the North did not extend farther than New York, and to go there and be forever harassed with the frightful liability of being returned to slavery, with the certainty of being treated tenfold worse than before, the thought was truly a horrible one, and one which it was not easy to overcome. The case sometimes stood thus. At every gate through which we were to pass, we saw a watchman, at every ferry a guard, on every bridge a sentinel, and in every wood a patrol. We were hemmed in upon every side. Here were the difficulties real or imagined, the good to be sought and the evil to be shunned. On the one hand there stood slavery, a stern reality glaring frightfully upon us, and its robes already crimson with the blood of millions, and even now feasting itself greedily upon our own flesh. On the other hand, away back in the dim distance, under the flickering light of the North Star, behind some craggy hill or snow-covered mountain, stood a doubtful freedom, half frozen, beckoning us to come and share its hospitality. Paragraph 2. In coming to a fixed determination to run away, we did more than Patrick Henry, when he resolved upon liberty or death. With us it was a doubtful liberty at most, and almost certain death if we failed. For my part, I should prefer death to hopeless bondage. Paragraph 3. The plan we finally concluded upon was to get large canoe belonging to Mr. Hamilton, and upon the Saturday night previous to Easter holidays, paddle directly up the Chesapeake Bay. On our arrival at the head of the bay, a distance of 70 or 80 miles from where we lived, it was our purpose to turn our canoe adrift and follow the guidance of the North Star till we got beyond the limits of Maryland. Our reason for taking the water route was that we were less liable to be suspected as runaways. We hoped to be regarded as fishermen, whereas if we should take the land route, we should be subjected to the interruptions of almost every kind. Anyone having a white face and being so disposed could stop us and subject us to examination. Paragraph 4. The week before our intended start, I wrote several protections, one for each of us, as well as I can remember. They were in the following words, to wit: "This is to certify that I, the undersigned, have given the bearer, my servant, full liberty to go to Baltimore and spend the Easter holidays, written with mine own hand, N.C. 1835. William Hamilton, near St. Michael's in Talbot County, Maryland." We were not going to Baltimore, but in going up the bay we went toward Baltimore, and these protections were only intended to protect us while on the bay. Paragraph 5. After a painful waiting, the Saturday morning, whose night was to witness our departure, came. I hailed it with joy, bring what of sadness it might. Friday night was a sleepless one for me. I probably felt more anxious than the rest, because I, by common consent, at the head of the whole affair. The responsibility of success or failure lay heavily upon me. The glory of the one and the confusion of the other were alike mine. The first 2 hours of that morning were such as I never experienced before, and hope to never again. Early in the morning we went, as usual, to the field. We were spreading manure, and all at once, while thus engaged, I was overwhelmed with an indescribable feeling, in the fullness of which I turned to Sandy, who was near by, and said, "We are betrayed." "Well," said he, "that thought has this moment struck me." We said no more. I was never more certain of anything. Paragraph 6. The horn was blown as usual, and we went up from the field to the house for breakfast. I went for the form more than for the want of anything to eat that morning. Just as I got to the house, and looking out at the lane gate, I saw 4 white men with 2 colored men. Mr. Freeland put his head in at the door, and called me by name, saying that there were some gentlemen at the door who wished to see me. I stepped to the door and inquired what they wanted. They at once seized me, and without giving me any satisfaction, tied me, lashing my hands closely together. I insisted upon knowing what the matter was. They at length said that they had learned I had been in a scrape, and that I was to be examined before my master, and if their information was proved false, I should not be hurt. Paragraph 7. In a few moments they succeeded in tying John. They then turned to Henry, who had by this time returned, and commanded him to cross his hands. "I won't," said Henry in a firm tone, indicating his readiness to meet the consequences of his refusal. "Won't you?" said Tom Graham, the constable. "No, I won't," said Henry in a still stronger tone. With this, 2 of the constables pulled out their shining pistols, and swore by their Creator that they would make him cross his hands or kill him. Each cocked his pistol, and, with fingers on the trigger, walked up to Henry, saying, at the same time, if he did not cross his hands, they would blow his heart out. shoot me," said Henry. "You can't kill me but once. Shoot, and be darned. I won't be tied." This he said in a tone of loud defiance, and at the same time, with a motion as quick as lightning, he, with one single stroke, dashed the pistols from the hand of each constable. As he did this, all hands fell upon him, and after beating him some time, they finally overpowered him and got him tied. Paragraph 8. During the scuffle I managed, I know not how, to get my pass out, and without being discovered, put it into the fire. We were all tied now. Just a moment previous to the scuffle with Henry, Mr. Hamilton suggested the propriety of making a search for the protections, which he had understood Frederick had written for himself and the rest. But just at that moment he was about carrying his proposal into effect. His aid was needed in helping to tie Henry, and the excitement attending the scuffle caused them either to forget or to deem it unsafe under the circumstances to search. So we were not yet convicted of the intention to run away. Paragraph 9. When we got about halfway to St. Michael's, while the constables having us in charge were looking ahead, Henry inquired of me what he should do with his pass. I told him to eat it with his biscuit and own nothing, and we passed the word around. "Own nothing and own nothing," said we all. Our confidence in each other was unshaken. Paragraph 10. I was now left to my fate. I was all alone and within the walls of a stone prison, but a few days before I was full of hope. I expected to have been safe in a land of freedom, but now I was covered with gloom, sunk down to the utmost despair. I thought the possibility of freedom was gone. I was kept in this way about 1 week, at the end of which Captain Auld, my master, to my surprise and utter astonishment, came up and took me out with the intention of sending me with a gentleman of his acquaintance into Alabama, but from some cause or other, he did not send me to Alabama, but concluded to send me back to Baltimore to live again with his brother Hugh and to learn a trade.